Hello and welcome to Garden Tracker for Daylilies. The topic of this video is in regards to navigating around the application. In order to get to your site, you type your URL in, so that's your domain.gardentracker.com, and you then see the front end of your Garden Tracker for Daylilies site. You will notice when you first come into your site, if you are not logged into the application, that the menu bar that shows is abbreviated. Now the front end of your site is accessible to anyone who visits your site. So anyone who types your domain name in .gardentracker.com can access your site. And so we have ways of controlling the information that a visitor can see to your site. And by default, these are the pieces of information. The home page, which we can customize to some extent. We can customize the information that we display on the page. If you want to have an online shop, then there is access to your shop. We're assuming you want any visitor that comes in to be able to see your shop without logging into the application. There's an about page which should hold information about your garden or your business. Contact Us tells a visitor how to get in touch with you, or can provide a form that allows them to send you an email. And then there's a way for you to log in. So this is your front end. Your front end is exposed to the visitors who visit your site. Once we log into our site, I'm going to log into my site. All right, so now I'm logged in. And now I'm redirected to the back end. The back end is only accessible to people who have what we call credentials to your site. They have a username and a password. You can set up multiple users for your site. You were given credentials when we set your site up, but if you want other people to have access to your back end, you have the ability to set that up. We will talk about that in a different video. All right, so here's the Garden Tracker for Daylilies application. You have a way to enter daylilies, which are daylilies that are in your collection, and also daylilies that you need to enter in order to render heritage for your daylily parents, your seedlings that you're keeping track of, the crosses that you have performed and want to keep track of. If you want, you can build up a list of the vendors you use, purchase events, so you can track all of your daylily purchases in this system, when you purchased, who you purchased from, who your vendor was, and then what daylilies can be associated to that. Consumers are people who you've done business with or have expressed interest in your daylilies, and you can log their interest in the form of a wish list here. And then catalogs are a really, really powerful way of subsetting your daylilies and seedling information, and we'll talk about that in a different video. So this is the back end. If we go to, for instance, the daylily section, you'll see that I have the ability to see all daylilies or to add a new daylily. If I go to all daylilies, I get a list of all the daylilies I've entered into the system, into my application, and I have different information in the form of columns. So each row is it's a tabular format. Each row is a different daylily, and each column is a different piece of information. There's a search bar at the top. You can put thousands and thousands of daylilies into this application and still find any one daylily very easily because the search capabilities are very fast. All right, so in addition, you can filter by some of the columns by making selections in these drop-down lists, and then once you do that and click this filter button, the list will change to show you only some of your daylilies instead of all of them. You can click on the name of a daylily or click on edit to get to the individual record for that daylily, and that allows you to update, change, or delete information for this particular daylily. You always need to remember to click the update button when you're done. All right, so then we'll go back to the list just to show you a few more things. These columns are actually customizable. The great thing about this application is the back end is very customizable, both in terms of the information that's managed for some of the lists and all that are in the application, but also in the information that you display. And so if you click Edit Columns and there's more information and documentation on this, you can change the columns. You can have different column views. So if you want to view just for the catalog information for each daylily, and then another view for the different daylily detail information, you can set that up in your system. This is all more advanced, but I just want you to keep in mind that you can customize what's displayed in your lists. And also you can export to a CSV file, which is then readable by Microsoft Excel or other spreadsheet applications. And so that's a really neat way to get data out of your system. There's multiple ways. We'll talk about exporting data in different ways in other videos, but this is a way that will export the data that you have at any point in time in your list. So if you filter your data, and you then will export only the filtered data set. And so that's a really, if you want to filter and just export all of the daylilies by a certain hybridizer, or all of your early mid daylilies, for instance, you can easily do that by filtering and then clicking the export button. That will send just that information out to the CSV file. So we're going to keep in mind that the back end of our application is where we enter and update any information, where we have the records that we have put into the database displayed for us, for only logged in users, and that we have capability here to do things like create subsets and then export those subsets to CSV files. If you hold the Command key down while you click this to go to the front end, because the view will take you to the front end, you will open that front end in a separate tab. And that was another thing I wanted to talk about in this video, which is that using a web-based application is a little bit different from using, for instance, a desktop application, because you can have multiple tabs open of the application. So we can see the back end, or we can go to the front end of our application. Now here's the front end that I opened before I logged in. If I refresh my web browser right now, because I am logged in, I can now see daylilies, crosses, seedlings, and other information because the system knows that I've logged in. It's telling me I've logged in. I can log out from either the front end or the back end. And once I am logged in, I can see information that I have locked down, in a sense, told the system only to display in the back end or to in the front end to users with credentials. Now, we can change this. This is also customizable. So if you are going to keep only the daylilies that you're going to have for sale here, so a user could come in and just see your daylily gallery, and you want any visitor at all that comes to your site to see that, we can change these privileges. So you can just keep that in mind. But keep in mind, what's very important to keep in mind about the front end is that any visitor can see the front end. And for the back end, only visitors with credentials can see the back end. So that's just a little bit of information on using Garden Tracker for daylilies, navigating around the system. Always try to click, click, click. You can't break anything. Even when you put a record in the trash, it actually doesn't delete it until you go into the trash and tell the system to physically empty the trash. So if you delete or trash something by mistake, there's a buffer there that you can get your record back. You can restore your record. So do not be afraid to click around, and if you do something that you don't like and you don't know how to get back out of it, just close your web browser and open a new one. You will not hurt anything. All right, so that's it. Thank you for watching this video and happy tracking.